Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm just going to be doing a little wrap-up review of some of the things that I've read in the past little while. I'd say this is probably since like August. I have not been reading that much. Things have just kind of been like, well, crazy, so, but everybody moves at their own pace. I'm not upset about it. I'm fine, it's whatever. But yeah, I've just got a little stack here of things that I'd like to talk about. So let's just hop into it. So first in the stack, I'd like to talk about Alphabetical Diaries by Sheila Heti. This is one that's been on my radar for a long time just because I liked the concept of it. I liked that there was something formal about the book that was going to give it a unique edge, but that it was still going to be a little bit personal and confessional in a way that you'd be able to see a little bit of a disconnect between those things and how they rub up against each other and merge. So I was excited to pick this up because it just really intrigued me. And it was actually a bit of a slog to get through because it was really fast moving at first, and then after a certain point, because it is quite formulaic, it does get a little bit repetitive, and then you realize that you've still got like 2/3 of the alphabet to go and you go like, oh my goodness. And then once you hit the chapter for I, and it's legitimately split into two parts because it has to account for sentences that start with I and sentences that start with words that start with the letter I, and you're like, oh my goodness. I think to that degree it could have been maybe pared down a little bit, and I think this was an interesting reading experience because like I don't have a solid opinion on, I liked it but like I didn't like it, you know. I liked it but it was a little bit of a pain to read, but I liked that it was a reading experience that was very visceral and you couldn't really get out of being in your body when you were reading it. And I think that that is nice sometimes, where like it's nice to read something that you don't get swept up into, where you have to feel everything. But yeah, different than I was expecting it to be like, and I expected there to be certain themes that came up over and over again, but I expected it to kind of mutate over time in a way that like it did kind of remain repetitive and methodical throughout. I know it's complicated. I think that it's a pretty fantastic conceptual feat and it's well executed, but it really made me think about how much I like center myself in my own life. It made me reflect on what kind of perspectives I bring to certain things in my life and what if I center myself within them or not. The next book I read is Create Dangerously by Albert Camus. Now this is a speech that he gave, so in that sense it was interesting to read. I think the other part of it that was quite nice is that so much of it felt quite relevant to what's going on in today's world, and the idea that something could be almost 100 years old in a completely different political climate and social context and still resonate so much in terms of what the role of the artist is and how an artist can become complacent and why they shouldn't become complacent and all these things. I think that's a little bit comforting, that although it might feel like completely unprecedented times, and in a lot of ways it is, there's a lot of new and scary things going on each day, but humans at the heart of everything are the same people with the same desires and the same concerns, and so the issues and the responses to the issues and how they present themselves are more or less the same despite how ever-changing and evolving the world is. Makes me feel a little more present and less likely to spiral. So this was an enjoyable read. The next book I read is My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. Now, I've been meaning to get my hands on this for years, and so I was very happy when I finally did. And I was a little worried that it wasn't going to live up to the hype or the expectations that I had for it, and it absolutely did, which was very nice. I did know that it was going to be quite poignant, but I was a little concerned that it wouldn't be relatable for me specifically, just kind of due to my positionality. But there were a lot of things that I think were still understandable and things that I was sympathetic to, if not things that resonated with me, if not in things that resonated with me, even if it was in maybe a more complicated way. And it was just incredibly well written, well thought out. I liked that there wasn't a sense of certainty in this essay collection. I did enjoy that it came from a place of nuance and curiosity and growth. She's an incredibly talented writer. You know, just everything top to bottom. It's well connected and incredibly thoughtful, and if you haven't read it yet, I would definitely recommend. The last book I want to talk about today is Pick a Color by Suvankam Thamavongsa. I'm not gonna lie, this was partially a cover buy because it is incredibly gorgeous, but as soon as I read the description, I was immediately fascinated, and I did also find it interesting that it was nominated for a Giller Prize. That was the reason why I ended up picking it up, and I devoured it in one sitting. It was incredibly interesting. The tone of the narration, it's quite kind of truncated and sparse, but it still packs a punch. I liked that it kind of took place within a limited time frame, and you know, it's just a well-oiled machine, well thought out. Each element was incorporated with care, and sometimes I read a book and I'm like, you can see kind of all the moving parts working within it, and I think this is a book that feels that way to me, but not in a way that kind of takes you out of the story, in a way where you just kind of end up fascinated watching the inner workings of it. And that's how this reading experience felt. This is one that I would definitely recommend. So that's my little stack. Just a short, quick, simple video for today. Not much going on. I just wanted to check in, chat a little bit. I hope you're doing well. I'm hoping to do maybe a reading vlog soon to help me get back on track for the end of the year, because I've kind of been in a bit of a reading slump since I graduated, and I'd like to, please God, hit my Goodreads goal this year, because I think that would make me feel really good. So hopefully maybe next video I'll do like a curating my TBR for that, kind of creating a reading plan. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, rest of your day, rest of your night, and I'll see you in the next one.